What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video of Hockey Never Stops. In this video, we're going to be covering 7 players that come from non-traditional hockey markets. Now, in this case, we have 7 countries that usually produce most of the NHL players. You have Canada, USA, Finland, Sweden, Russia, Czech Republic, and Slovakia. Now, these 7 countries have produced most of the NHL players in its league's history. And for the longest time, it seemed like those were the 7 countries that were going to produce most of the players. However, there are certain countries such as Switzerland and Germany that over the past couple of years have made a lot of headlines and produced more and more NHL players that are coming out of Germany, or maybe they come over to North America to play hockey. Now, in this video, we're not going to be looking at those countries. You're going to be looking at countries that produce actual NHL stars and that made a significant impact on their team. So even though there has been players that have come from countries like Australia, South Korea, Japan, even Lebanon, in this video we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be looking at players that have come out of a non-traditional hockey market and played a huge role on their team.
And starting off the video, as the first player, we're going to talk about Anze Kopitar, who's been one of the best players in the league for the past 15 years. Now, Kopitar was born in Genesis, Slovenia. Now, correct me if I'm saying that wrong, but he was drafted out of Sweden back in 2005. And many people were talking about how maybe they're reaching a little bit on him. You know, he's a late birthday. He didn't put up incredibly good stats. However, he was playing the J20 Super Elite League back in 2005, where he put up 28 goals, 21 assists, 49 points in 30 games, which is actually pretty good. And then the next year in 2005-2006, he played in the SHL, where he put up 20 points in 47 games. So there wasn't too much hype about him. You know, playing in the SHL, that's a pretty good league, and putting up pretty good point totals there. But there wasn't too much pressure going into his rookie season of 2006-2007. But this guy spent no time developing, pretty much. He was brought in, and he was one of the best rookies that year. He put up 20 goals, 41 assists, 61 points in 72 games as a rookie on a not very good LA Kings team. He's won 2 Stanley Cups, 2 Frank J. Selke trophies, and 1 Lady Byng, while also playing a very high-end offensive game. Now, he's not going to wow you with the points, but I think back in 2018, he had his best year yet, where he really dominated the league. And that was probably his best year that he's ever going to have, where he put up 92 points in 82 games and was the Frank J. Selke winner as well. And Kopitar's impact in Slovenian hockey has been insane. He played super well in the 2014 Olympics, where he carried the team to winning 2 games in the round robin. And this player has so much left more in the tank. I mean, he's only 33 years of age. He's still playing up with really good point totals, and I think I could see him definitely retiring as an LA King and going to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Now, the next player we're going to talk about is Moritz Zerkowski. And he was born in Radomsko, Poland back in 1972. Now, originally drafted by the Boston Bruins in 1991, he was drafted out of the Polish league, and he was a 5th round draft pick that year. It's crazy to think that you can score 25 goals, 15 assists, and 40 points in 24 games and still get drafted in the 5th round. Now, yes, he was playing in the Polish league in the 90s, but at the same time, those are grown men, and he was just an 18-year-old. Eventually, he transferred over to Sweden for a couple of years, and then he was signed by the Boston Bruins, got a cup of coffee in the NHL, and then spent 2 more years with the Bruins. After that, he spent 2 years in Edmonton from 1996 to 1997, and then the best chunk of his career was spent with the New York Islanders, where he had back-to-back 30-goal seasons and even went to the All-Star game in 2000. Eventually, he signed with the Montreal Canadiens in 2002-2003, and he only scored 14 points in 43 games and was actually sent down to the AHL for a good chunk of that season. But he felt like the Islanders was still a good fit, so he went back to the Islanders, scored 25 goals in 81 games, and then pretty much was done after that. And he spent a couple years in the NLA, lit it up there for 2 seasons, and retired back in Poland for 1 game. However, he had a questionable attitude and work ethic, but it's crazy to
tą
think
całą sekwencję,
that
ale
someone that
na
talented
pewno
can
to,
come
że
out
grałem
of
w
a country
hokeja i
like
rzeczywiście
Poland. And he's one of
bardzo ładnie
4
wymieniłeś te
players
wszystkie
from
kluby, w których
Poland that
grałem w
played in the
NHL,
NHL, and he's
to
by
na pewno
far
coś
the best
zostało z
one.
tego.
Next up, we're going to talk about Dinas Zubris, who was drafted in 1996 as the 15th overall pick by the Philadelphia Flyers, and originally he was born in Elektronai, Lithuania. Now this is a little bit different here because he was born in Lithuania, he moved to Russia when he was around 9 years of age, but it's actually unbelievable how he's the only ever Lithuanian player to play in the NHL. Like, there's no other players at all. He's the only one. Now, he was drafted in 1996 in the first round, and he was actually drafted by the Pembroke Lumber Kings. And you're probably wondering where that is. That's actually a Junior A hockey team. So not a CHL team, a Junior A hockey team out near Ottawa. Now, a random league like that back 24 years ago, that's very impressive to get drafted in 1996 in the first round out of a Junior A team and then jump right into the lineup the following season. Where, considering where he came from and was developed, he was not bad in his rookie season, scoring 21 points in 68 games, as well as 9 points in 19 playoff games for the Philadelphia Flyers. So he played 3 years for the Philadelphia Flyers, 3 years for the Montreal Canadiens, played around 5 seasons for the Washington Capitals, and then played about 8 years for the New Jersey Devils. Eventually, he did retire in 2016 with the San Jose Sharks, and he played over 1,000 games and is the only player in Lithuanian history to play in the NHL. Now, for a good portion of his career, Dinas Zubris was a very solid middle six forward who could play on your PK. He could also play a grinding role. He could play on the power play, and he's someone who you could put up and down your lineup because he was a very good power forward who had a very solid defensive game as well.